Hello YouTube, Basin Truck here, and today we're working on the van. Now, as you've seen from the title, I'm going to be doing rear brakes on these, and tell you a quick story. Someone on the internet who supposedly works on these all the time, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, told me that they work on these all the time, and a very large company has a fleet of these, and they go through rear brakes in less than 10,000 miles. And this is when I first got this van. It was about 2 years ago. Like, there's no way these things go through brakes that fast. So, the fact that I am well over 10,000 miles, I'm actually almost to 50. I'm getting close to 50. But I do know it does need rear brakes. The pads on this side are almost metal to metal, if not just about there. So, 50,000 miles, almost, for some rear pads, I'm okay with that. Now, ironically, the fronts still have 50+%, but it does eat rear brakes. Now, I drive pretty conservatively. I don't get on the brakes hard. I coast a lot, so maybe that helped me almost push 50. But anyway, we're going to pull this all apart, and I'm going to show you guys how to change the pads in these. Now, I am going to tell you right now, I am pad swapping. To pull the rotors off, you have to disassemble the rear axle. It's a full float axle. You have to pull off these 6 bolts, pull the axle shaft out, pull the bearings apart, because it's not a hat rotor. It is bolted from behind on the hub. And they don't vibrate. Yes, you'll wear your pads down a little quicker, potentially, but I'm okay with that. I mean, if I have to change these again at, well, I'm almost at 50, let's just say 80. Let's say 75 to 80. If I have to change them again at $75,000 to $80,000, I will put rotors on the back, and I'll put new pads also. And if that's the case, I'm okay with that. Rotors are a little expensive if you get halfway decent ones. Now, I did get Motorcraft rear pads again, but we'll throw these on. I'll show you guys how to pull the pads out, and that's what we're doing today. So let's get to it. These lug nuts are 21mm, in case you didn't know. So we'll pop these off, get the wheels off real quick here. If anyone was wondering, retorquing these is 140 foot-pounds. These inner wheels do like to stick. Okay. Now, I forgot to mention one other thing real quick. The same person that told me these brakes only last 10,000 miles or less also said if you use too much of the pad and the caliper piston extends too much, that when you try to push it back in, it jams and you have to replace the calipers. So the fact that what he told me first isn't right, I'm hoping the second isn't either. Let me get in here and show you what I'm talking about. We'll up the ISO here, brighten it up, and we'll show you how low these pads are. They're low, I know they are. Oh, look at that. Let me focus this. I mean, there is not much pad, if at all, left on there. So it's definitely time to get that replaced. So that's what we're gonna do. What we're gonna need to do is pull these bolts off. They look to be 14. Is 13 or 14, as I would guess. So I'll go get those. We'll find out for sure, and we'll get the caliper off, and we'll get these pads out and try to compress carefully this piston back in. So these nuts are 13, so we'll just go ahead and get those off of there. This part should be pretty easy.
I know you can't see from that angle, but these rotors are bolted in on the back side of this hub. Oh, I'm not spinning. Am I gonna have to hold that in there? Yep. Okay. Okay, we've got a pair of adjustable pliers. We just need to put it on this square here. There we go. Okay, now that the bolts are out, this part of the caliper should pop off. Have a little pry bar here, and we're going to see, sometimes it pivots from one end, sometimes it slides off directly. We're about to find out which one it is. Now, they are compressed. It is have some tension on it, and there is a bit of a lip here, so it's not going to come off necessarily very easy, but it shouldn't be too hard. Yeah, there it goes. A little bit of pressure, and it slides right off. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay. Let's pull this pad off and see how bad this is. Oh, man. It's bad. Okay, there is... Oh, it's not as bad as I thought. There's maybe a millimeter left on these pads. So, it's definitely due for replacement. So we popped the old ones out. Now, I'm not going to replace this rotor right now. You can see how thick this is. I mean, that is at least a ½ inch. Beefy, beefy. So, it doesn't vibrate. It doesn't give me any pulsation. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the pads may wear a little faster because they're not fresh, but it's fine. I am not looking forward to doing this and pulling this all apart. I will do that next time I have to do brakes. And they're kind of expensive too. So we've got that going for us also. Now, the outer still has a bit of material left on it. I mean, probably at least 2/3 more. So that's about 1 millimeter. That's about 3 millimeters. The other side is not as bad as the driver's side here, but we'll get these. I don't know. Can I replace these clips? I think are they individual? Oh, I think they are. But we'll get the new pads out. We'll put the new clips in, and we'll sit here. Actually, you know what? Let's try to compress this first. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to set the caliper down with this jack. Oh, it is a twist in, it looks like. So you have to twist when you push. You need this tool. That one is too small. Now, I know you're on the back side of this caliper, but we'll get this set up and we will attempt to twist this back in, and hopefully we will be successful. Now I'm going to be very careful to make sure this is centered and pushing directly in the center, because I think that could potentially cause an issue. Okay, I'm pretty happy with where that is, so we're going to try to compress this back in and hope for the best here. Oh, there it goes. Okay, well, it started moving. Oh, it is twisting. Hopefully it's going in. It is going back in. It's slow, but I can see it. Is that it? Am I all the way in? Now there's one thing you have to notice on this inside pad. It's got the keyway at the top, or at the bottom. So you're going to need to make sure that when you're doing this, you have, when you twist it in, you leave that notch, one of these notches at the bottom. Here's the piston and the caliper and the marks. That needs to be up and down vertically with the caliper, so that little, where we go, that little pin lines up with the one on the bottom there. So that's what you need to do. So we'll get this stuff put on here in a second. I told you guys I bought the Motorcraft pads, same ones that were in here. Here's a picture of them. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in them. Get these out of the shrink wrap. Oh, those are a lot meatier. So here's an inner pad, a new one, and here's my old one. Definitely goes through rear pads pretty quick, but you know, what are you gonna do? And like I told you, I drive very conservatively. Now there's new hardware in here. I recommend you guys put that on. Okay, we've got new clips. We'll put those on. Now also, your slides. You guys should re-grease your slides, and I will do that here in a minute. See how they look. So, I will clean all these off and re-grease all this and clean that out. But we're going to get these clips on. You see, they just come off. Nothing fancy. Now there probably is left and right. Yes. There we go. There's one. I've pulled the slides out and the boots. Here's the bottom one. Now, this is a step a lot of people skip. And I'll admit I might go a little overboard on this. But if you don't replace the grease here, it does dry out. And when this grease dries out, what's going to happen is your caliper is going to stick and not release when you take your foot off the brake. Now, I'm not saying you're going to crash or anything, but what it does is it definitely makes the wear on your pads speed up drastically, because the caliper has enough force to push it even though it doesn't want to slide. But when it releases that pressure, it stays, and the only way to release the pressure is to wear the pad down, and you get a lot of wear doing that. So I take paper towels and wipe off as much as I can. And here's where people are probably going to say I go a little too far. I get Q-tips and I pull as much as the old grease out as I can. They make specific grease for this. And depending on the manufacturer, some people choose a different recipe than others. But I will tell you, you don't even have to necessarily use specific caliper grease. I've got some. I'm not near it right now, so I'm not going to use that. But if you use a high quality synthetic bearing grease, it'll work fine too. Now, it really needs to be synthetic, and here's why. Number one, the heat. These parts get hot. And you know what happens when they get hot. Regular grease dries up, it's not as good. Synthetic grease can handle a lot higher temperatures. And then the other side is water intrusion. I found that too. Water will get past, the seals will get old, a little water will get past it, and regular grease is hygroscopic. It will absorb water, whereas a true synthetic grease is hydrophobic and it will repel water. So that's another reason you want it to be a synthetic grease. So again, like I said, I take my Q-tips and I just start cleaning out the tubes here where the slides slide into. And I just keep that up until it's relatively clean. Now as you guys can see, it's black too, so some dirt and grime and dust does get in there. So we want to try to get as much of that out of there as possible also. It's not going to do us any favors sitting in there. And if you do that, you shouldn't ever have a caliper stick. Now the flip side is, I've seen it to where it was so bad, I couldn't even get the slides out. I mean, we had to beat them out to get the caliper off. And we wound up having to replace the calipers. They were just ruined. So if you're doing this yourself, get some good synthetic grease or buy the little packet of grease for it and just replace it. Just finished greasing everything. Now you want to make sure, you don't want to put too much grease in there because it'll make it hard for the slide to go in and out. If you do, just get a Q-tip, pull it out until you can push it in and out. And when you put the seal back in, push it all the way in and burp the air out of it. So this way it'll move freely in its range. Because otherwise it'll be pushing out potentially, which isn't a deal breaker, but I like to have it to where it's just kind of neutral. So now we just have to slide this back on, which it should fit, I'm hoping. When you slide this on, you have to push the slides in also while retaining that, so just like that. And then let me get my screws here. Can't remember which one went on the top or the bottom. I think this one was on the top. So get this on there so it'll hold it. This one's being a bit of a pain. There we go. I think. We're going to take our ratchet, we're going to get them down snug, and then we're probably going to need to use the adjustable wrench to hold these while we tighten them. So we're going to take our adjustable wrench, hold the square part, and you want these snug, guys. You don't want them to be loose. So get them on there. Don't strip them, but get them on there. Okay, so we have one side done, and basically you just do the opposite on the other side. So that's what it takes to do the brake pads on here. It really isn't that bad. I could have done it a lot quicker if I wasn't videoing. So now, like I said, next time I will dive into changing the rotors out on this thing, but it's probably going to be a while before I make that video. Now, I'm not a big pad swapper, guys. This is not something I normally do, but like I said, I don't get any pulsation. These rotors are really thick, and I don't want to have to go through the whole mess to pull them off and go get them machined and then put them back on when I may get a little bit more wear. Now, if you guys are doing this and you've never done brakes before, good luck. But once you're done, you always want to pump the brake pedal before you put the vehicle in gear, because especially fronts are really important on this, because the car will move and you will not stop. It takes a few pumps to get this to tighten up so you can stop. So always do that. Pump it up after you're done so you don't run into something. It does happen. And that's it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any other questions, let me know. It's pretty straightforward. Good luck on your brakes.
Thanks for watching. Throw a comment down below and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.